Now, the second phase is to create line variety. So you're going to treat each little window as a composition, as a small composition that you're going to create a composition of lines using variety of lines, thick, thin, short, fat, horizontal, vertical, diagonal, curvilinear, right? And so it really helps if you just play around on a separate sheet of paper. By playing around on a separate sheet of paper, you can brainstorm or just scribble, take a break from the energy of the scribble and use a ruler. What I like to do is so having a little 2 by a quarter inch, 2¼ inch by 2¼ inch thumbnail helps you isolate compositions, right? So then if you do a scribble page, like a brainstorm page first, then you can go in and kind of isolate interesting combinations of lines, right? You're not stuck just working within a thumbnail frame, okay? So the more brainstorming you have, the more options you'll have to play with. So I like this. I might photograph it or screen grab it, right? Because I'm working on my computer right now, so it's easy for me to screen grab all these different compositions that I like. And, I limited myself because I put frames on here at first. So I've got these excess kind of frames in my composition. And I'm not stuck just using a scrap sheet. I can use, here's a drawing I did earlier, a demonstration for a different class. I can isolate lines, compositions of lines from other drawings, right? I can isolate compositions of lines from objects. Right? So anything, use your imagination for how you're capturing your composition. I did not bring my Pitt pens with me, but I do have dip pen and ink with a variety of nibs. Okay. So I'm going to demonstrate a couple of different processes for playing around with these thumbnails. This is just my process. There's no right and wrong. All right, I'm going to start off with pencil. And I'm going to utilize, let me move this over. I took some pictures, remember? I'm just going to open a bunch of them up here. So I screen grabbed a bunch of examples, right? But I also photoshopped some of my line survey from the photographs of the line survey. I photoshopped and mixed and matched some things in Photoshop, right? So I have a lot of resources to play with. And then you can also refer to the photographs, right? And I'll show some drawing from the photographs in a second. So I'm just going to pull up one of these. And I'm going to go ahead and just transfer, just by observation, that little drawing into this thumbnail. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to dive in with the ink and see what happens. Now, it's just smart to put a piece of paper under your ink bottle, right? And then I'm going to grab any old nib, doesn't matter which one. Nibs are great to work with because they're inexpensive. You have to wash these off with soap and water or use a flame to get the oil off. So I'm just going to make some test runs, okay? And then The more you do, the more you'll kind of get used to what it is that you like or don't like. I'm going to show you some tricks that you can use to help you break that up a little bit. So I'm just going to create some line strips. And I can collage, right, my line strips right on top of that. The other thing I can do, right, I didn't glue these all the way down. I only glued them to the outside of the thumbnail so I can move them a little bit out of the way if I don't like them. I have white ink, right? Make sure if you're using white ink to not introduce any of the dark gray water from cleaning your pens. White ink works just like the black ink. And then I'm just going to clean up a little bit of these areas. I really like the action lines. So I'm going to go back and outline the action lines in white. So you can't, if you don't think in terms of making mistakes, you just think in terms of layers and then start learning all of the materials that are available to you, then you won't ever really think about having made a mistake, right? Because you can just treat your mistakes like opportunities. Okay, so that's my first thumbnail. Okay, for the second thumbnail, this sheet I made in Photoshop, and I made by just taking some of my my line survey images and adjusted the color and contrast, and then filtered out some of the colors and just made it into a black and white design. Some of you are going to have digital tools and some aren't. You don't have to do this. I'm just showing you my process. So I like this square up in the corner. Okay. So this time I did find a little thin Sharpie. So I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to kind of redraw the character of that little thumbnail the best I can. And then I want to put some straight lines in there. So I'm going to use a ruler for some of those like really straight lines. This takes a long time, right? I actually want to put some up here. Now that I'm playing around with it and I like it, I want to put some. This is dry. Instead of drawing a line to repeat that angle, I'm going to stencil it and thicken up the density of these stipples right here. Okay. And I like the idea, you see this little plane right here? I like the idea of what's under it looking like it's beneath. So I'm going to go ahead and stipple this area. And then maybe I'm going to come over here and stipple in between these triangular shapes to make them look like they have some negative space around them. Put up some dash lines for variety to change it up a little bit instead of stipples. So I'm actually going to use a little bit of white ink, and I'm going to use a brush this time. There are thinner brushes, but this is what I have. So I'm going to dip it in there. And I just want to come back in and very delicately bring in that tip. And then I'm actually going to also put some action lines right there. Boom, boom, boom. I'll go back in and put outlines around those. To finish this one, I got a thicker brush. And you see how that bled a little bit? So I like that effect. So maybe for one of my thumbnails, I'm going to put water down. And this time I'm going to use like maybe a vertical or horizontal line and just go straight across it. Boom. See the character? And I'm just going to leave that be just exactly the way it is. I'll come down here and do. So those count, right? They're different. It's variety. These are like really thin and really finely worked. And then maybe I want to just repeat something that's going on in here, over here, and then have the continuity look like it's cutting up to here. And I can go back and work those in some other way later. So if I just can't think of anything, I probably come over to my idea sheet. I like some of the stuff that's going on over here, so maybe like, what if I just draw right on top of the pencil? So I'm just gonna cut that out. I like that. So I'm just gonna cut that out and paste it right into my thumbnails. If you don't like something, you can always just collage over it. Okay, I like that juxtaposition, so I'm going to go ahead and paste this one up there. I want this to be white in there. So. And then one more. Right there, clean up that edge. There's nothing wrong with it the way it is. I just don't like it. It's no reason. You got to go with what you like and don't like. There, now it's contained. I like it more contained with just a little breaking out, okay? So that's as far as I'm going to go with my demo. And then you just want to keep working each frame, okay? Okay, so I played around with it a little bit more off screen and just went ahead and finished it. Obviously, just have fun. This is a little busy. Everybody's different. This is what I came up with in the moment, just trying to do this demo. You guys don't have to do it all in one sitting. You have a whole week to do this. So if you spread out like 4 a day or something like that, then you can bang it all out in one sitting, or spread your energy out and think a little bit more about your mini compositions before you just dive in. Okay, so have fun.